Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Lessons of the Woods by 10 Point Whitetails. I'm your host Dylan Porter, and this is
Kyle Weber.
And we are back to talk about this right here. This is Whitts End Ridge is what you've named it. And we're going to go in depth on the improvements you've made to this property to house deer. So why don't you start by telling us, when you bought the property, what did you see for sign and what did you see for deer on the property?
Well, we bought it, I think I said in the first episode, was October 1st. I think we signed for it. I had cameras out for about a month before I got permission from the owner and stuff like that. And I had about 6 cameras out, and I got one picture of one little 6-pointer in velvet. And I think there was a handful of those, maybe 1 or 2 coming through, passing through. But I went to the normal signs.
Yeah.
This trail, this cut, and I went for the normal spots you look at for the woods. So they were in good spots, but I got one picture of a buck, and that's pretty much all I remember. And I was kind of like, I'm signing for this property. What did I just do? There's no deer here. It'd
be encouraging to see, a handful of deer anyway.
Yeah, and we walked it today. You can see across everything. It was not promising. But I ended up sitting there at the end of October. It was the first real weather day was correct. And I sat, and at that point, the deer had picked up. I had a couple does and a fawn, and then I had that 6-pointer kind of around a little bit. But, I'm talking 20 days.
Yeah.
Pictures kind of picked up, but I sat on a good cutting spot where I thought the deer were coming down, and I started seeing some scrapes.
Okay.
So I sat, first weather day, so I sat that afternoon. 4 hours later, I hear a grunt. I see this 8-pointer coming in, smaller 8-pointer, 100 inches, 110 maybe. Bow, shot him.
Okay.
Couldn't believe it. That's the first time I've ever sat and shot and harvested an animal the first set.
Wow.
Unbelievable that it worked that way. I was very happy with that. Got home and was like,
done deal.
Now
it's a good
what?
sign, yeah.
Yeah.
What led you to sit where you decided to sit? There was some sign there, if I remember correctly, that led you to think that'd be a good spot.
So this was logged many years ago, and there was this kind of natural logging road that came to comes down the hill. It's a flat spot, and then it goes down farther into some thick stuff.
Okay.
And it just felt natural to have these deer come off the ridge, come down at this spot, take a left, and then they kind of go down into the deep, dark thicket of the woods. And to be honest with you, it's everything. All the canopy's really high, 50 feet, I think the canopy is at, and I can see for 100 yards through below.
Yeah, and that's what really surprised me, because the woods that I grew up in, you can't see hardly anything.
Sure.
But that's northern Minnesota versus northern Wisconsin. You have a lot of that heavier timber, like you said, 50 feet tall. Not a lot of our trees get that tall, and we have underbrush.
Yeah, and we're talking 12, 14, 18-inch trees. Yeah. We're talking big, mature
big
trees. But that natural path kind of went through there, but then I also had a pine tree. One of the few pine trees kind of in that area, and I was like, tree stand, okay.
There you go.
Sat there, and it worked. A couple does came through. Like I said, he was kind of pushing a little spike, I think it was.
Okay.
So I seen 5 deer that night. He was the last one shot. Made a great shot. Ended up harvesting him with a couple buddies coming to help me pull him out of there. But it was the first day I ever sat there.
Yeah, your success rate was through the roof.
Yeah, great, considering the pictures I had. But that 8-pointer at that point was the biggest buck out there. And I did get a picture of him on another trail camera earlier in that evening.
Okay. 20
minutes before I shot him. But I kept 6 cameras out there until February, until they all shed their horns, and I kept stopped documenting what was what. That was the biggest buck on my land last year. Done. So if I'd have waited for the biggest buck, it was that buck. Now I might have got him next week, 2 weeks later, in the rut, whatever. But that was the biggest buck I had that whole year. So to do it in one sit was pretty awesome. But one picture of a 6-pointer when I'm buying 90-some acres, that's
it's daunting.
It's daunting, and it feels like you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
But it worked, and things are changing at this point. So
good. So fill us in on what was the first thing you did once spring rolled around? Ground thawed, snow's melting, you're ready to work. What was your first course of action?
Well, before that even, I went in at February. Once I pulled my cameras, everything had shed. Deer kind of they were wintered where they were going to winter.
Okay.
I went in a hinge cut.
Oh.
I did 2 key spots. So I had already walked the property and decided where my food plots and where my micro plots were going to be. Where my food plot was going to be, and then my other little kill plots. But so I strategically put my 2 hinge bedding areas off of these plots. So in February, me and a buddy went in there with chainsaws, and I think we probably cut 24 trees in each spot. Doesn't sound like a lot of trees, but it opened the canopy wide open. I could see the sky. I'm talking big mature trees, and we hinge cut all of them trees down. So that's what we did in February.
And can you explain for me, just a quick overview, what is hinge cutting?
So the goal is with the hinge cut is to put a lot of food that's up in that canopy down at deer level, about 4 feet. Mm-hmm. Hinge cutting does a couple things. It brings the food from the canopy down, and if you cut the tree just right, from the backside, basically, you drop the tree, that tree will still live, because there's still enough going through that all the branches will kind of turn into trees, and the buds up there will be now at 4 foot level.
Okay.
But what you've also done is cleared out the canopy so that sunlight can get down to all the dormant stuff that's on the floor, on the soil, and the leaves and stuff like that. And we already see it this year that all that stuff's sprouting. So all this new fresh growth is right at deer level. So cutting one tree, hinge cutting it, some bigger ones don't hinge. They fall.
They're a little bit older, yeah.
They're harder to drop. But once you drop that tree, you've done 2 things. You've put all that food, especially if that tree continues to grow, at deer level. You've opened the canopy so all the dormant seed takes off.
And you're creating underbrush, underbrush from the top of a tree, but essentially it makes the deer comfortable to lay there, right?
Yep, and you're blocking visuals. So now, instead of looking 100 yards through the woods, you go up 10 feet and there's a tree, there's brush, and there's this thick, and they can put their back to that and look out at the open and scan their area. And if something goes sour, predator, hunter, whatever it is, they can get up, duck behind that, and they've only gone 10, 15 feet, but they've broken that visual from that predator. And that's how it can go on bears, it can go on coyotes, wolves, even other mature bucks. Yeah. That mature buck comes in, and that little yearling's like, nope. He's got to duck 10 feet.
Yeah, he's got to get out of there.
But he's only got to go 10 feet at that point because he's already lost that visual. Maybe that big buck, mature buck's going to avoid him or not notice him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, up until that point, if he seen me walking in there, he would have had to run 400, 500 yards to get out of sight. So creating these pockets of hinge cutting and bedding does 5 different things. We just talked about 3. The canopy's down.
Yep.
The food's at level.
Yep. And
you've created structure for them to put their backs to, hide in, and use as a runaround. They can get on the other side of it and hide.
Every deer that I have encountered, they like to lay in the deepest, thickest part of the woods if they can. It's where they feel the most secure. So you're bringing that to a location that was previously open that is closer to the food sources. Yeah.
I put it strategically in spots to create a natural pathway between, and we did 2. Okay. You don't want to cut everything down. No. You don't want to commit.
You want to keep the woods.
You want to keep the woods, and you don't want to commit to something that you want to make sure it works first. Mm-hmm. So the plan is to expand these, but specifically we did 2 in 2 different spots, kind of on both ends of the food plots and the micro plot, to get them in these spots. So now we know they're bedding here. Now we know we're bedding there, and there's a natural travel for the deers to go. So that's where we're going to hunt. But that was in February. We did that 2 weekends worth of work.
Coldish, I'm assuming.
Coldish, and at that point the snow was deep, and the snow was just bad enough where it was crusty, so you'd stand there. Oh. But if you put your foot on the right, you weight all your weight on the right foot, you'd postal. Oh. It was not fun. No. I was cutting at waist, and you want different varying heights for the hinge.
Okay.
But I was cutting them at 3, and the reason I was cutting them at 3 is because we were going to lose 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
In essence. So I was trying to be cautious of the snow melt where I'm standing, so we didn't come in there and the hinges are at my head. If the hinge is at my head, you're not doing anything. The top is down, but the hinge is way up there, and that's not great.
Okay.
But you also don't want to just drop all these trees and just make a make a mess because
You want the deer to be able to use it.
yeah, if you make a big mess in the middle and they can't even get in there, they won't use it.
No.
You'll have some edging that will be great for them, but they won't use that whole space. So you have to be thoughtful,
strategic.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so you got the hinge cutting done. Then when the ground thaws, I'm assuming you started on your food plots.
Yes. So then we picked 3 spots. One is substantially larger. It's up on the ridge top. And what the location is designed for that was because of the access. So basically, up until the tree stand, I was going to be walking uphill.
Okay.
But the moment I'm in my tree stand at elevation, I'm looking downhill. So anytime those deer are in that food plot, they have to look over a crest of a hill to see me. But we did other things, what we'll get to later, that breaks that visual up on them. But we placed one pretty much in the middle. That's our big one.
Okay.
I call that the ridge top. It's a 30-foot elevation change, but it's a ridge. It's
more elevation change than we got up where I'm at.
Exactly. And it's the key focal, so everything's functioning off that big food plot. It's about an acre.
Okay.
When we're done, it'll be about half or 3/4 of an acre of actually food plot, but we have a pond in there. Mm-hmm. We're putting a bunch of fruit trees, apple trees, chestnut, persimmons, putting a bunch of them in. So that's going to shrink, but it is our biggest food plot.
But it's other foods. It's the pond. It's a water source. It's other food sources. I think you were telling me earlier that there's really no water nearby.
There is no water. There is a little creek on another property next to us. It doesn't show it here. It's actually off. It's off here.
Okay.
But they actually don't like creeks.
Yeah, you're saying that your deer seem to prefer...
They like that stagnant water. I'm not sure if it's a sound thing. I'm not sure if it's a taste thing. I can't imagine stagnant, dirty water tastes good.
You wouldn't think so.
But they will walk through a creek and go where that creek has circled and filled in some... kind of like a little pothole, and it's stagnant. They'll drink out of that before they drink out of the crystal clear water.
Huh.
So this food plot's got lots of things happening. It's a food plot. It's a pond. It's going to be trees. We're going to get a bunch of tonnage of food from these trees in hopefully 3 years.
Okay.
Sizes and everything, but...
it depends on how many deer you got there. If you have 50 deer there, you don't have enough food. But
no.
For what you imagine the population is, or what you know the population is in this general area, how many deer would you anticipate you could house and feed there every year once everything's producing?
Well, based on that big one, we could probably do 20 to 25, 30 deer.
Okay.
Your fawns don't eat as much.
No.
But your big mature bucks do. But if I could have 20 to 25, 30 deer, I don't think they would eat it up. I don't think they would browse it to nubs. I think there's enough there. So I have 5-year plan that if it is over browsed, we're going to expand. We're going to make it bigger if we have to. But that's years down the road. I wanted to see what...
You got to see where you're at and
we've done
deer
3.
population.
And we've done 3 food plots.
Yeah, that's right.
So the biggest one is the ridge top. It's an acre. I would call it an acre. It'll get down to about 3/4 or maybe a little over half, 5/8 of an acre. But right down from there, 150 yards, we put a little 35-yard circle. Natural opening. It was actually where I shot that 8-pointer.
Well, so you already know it's a good spot.
It works.
They're already traveling there.
It's a natural corridor, but it's a great stopping point for them. So I cleared it out a little bit. I got rid of a little bit of canopy, and we planted some shade-tolerant seed. So it can grow with a less...
Limited sunlight,
because I can't get quite much, and I don't want to clear the world out there.
Yeah.
And that's probably my cleanest, nicest growing food plot at this point. I don't know if it's holding a little bit more moisture, because we've had a lack of moisture this year. So my ridgetop food plot is not... Yeah. It's not pretty. It did not do well this summer, because we cleared it this spring.
Yeah, so you do got other things going against you, because anytime you clear a fresh piece of property, it's really best to let it sit black for a year, because then all the vegetation that is on the soil is dying and rotting and turning into fertilizer for the future.
Yeah.
But you're not fighting the weeds, because if you keep it black, keep tilling it up, keep working it throughout the course of a summer, you get rid of the weeds.
Yep. Yep.
So you're fighting that a little bit this year, but next year should be better.
I think next year is going to be beautiful. I think we're going to be picture perfect. It's going to be full, lush, green. We'll do some fertilizers. We didn't do any fertilizer. We didn't do any lime. I cleared it. I ran a skid steer over it, which was probably a bad idea because I compacted that soil so bad.
Yeah.
But I planted. I wanted to get something in that ground.
Something for food.
Something for green, something for food, and it's already substantially done better for me from what our trail cameras are showing.
Well, like we've been sitting here tonight, your phone's been going crazy all night. During the day while we were out on the property, there was a few bucks on the northern food plot. So they're using the food plots.
Yes. So we got the big one, we got the one where the 8-pointer was shot. And then we have the north end, and it's way up here. And that one is there purely because I wanted something for access for a different wind.
Yeah.
Right now we get a specific wind to come from the south side. I wanted something different. And I'm establishing this. So my access is to about here, but I'm treating this 40-acre parcel right here. This is where I'm hunting.
Yeah.
I'm giving the deer all of this.
40 acres where you really don't go in, you don't touch.
I don't touch it. I don't mess with them. I leave them alone. There is a trail that cuts through, but that's only if I need to
check a trail camera.
If I need to get to the north end to do some work or whatever. But what'll happen in the future, I assume, there's going to be a big buck. He's going to be smart. He's not going to come here. He'll never come to this big food plot.
Yeah.
He's like, I was a spike when he shot that 6.
He just doesn't trust it anymore.
He's not going to do it. He's going to hide up in this bigger, thicker stuff in this little swampy. What I'll do is on a south wind, I'll get up in there on that food plot. And I wanted something there to drive if he's going to be different. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll slip up there.
Yeah.
I'll need a south wind. I'll need wind from Florida coming up. I'll have to use a different access point, which will be coming actually down this railroad grade. I'll have to access from there and try to jump him that way.
But give yourself another option anyway. And if things do go south,
if he's smart and I can't beat him, the wind will be different, the weather will be different. It's a totally different side of the property, and that one's only 20 yards round. But when I did create that trail up, I planted the trail.
Yeah.
So it's 20 yards round and probably another 60, say 100, but about 60 yards of trail wide, 8 feet wide, planted and stuff too. So if you add that square footage, it's
substantial enough to they can stop in, grab a bite, or 5 minutes of worth of bites.
If they're really hungry, the only food will be at the big one.
Yeah.
In essence, if they want to actually sit there and eat some food, that's where they gotta go.
The way deer operate, that's a perfect stand. That's a perfect location for a midday food plot.
Yep.
Because what deer like to do is they like to eat. They can only eat about the size of your fist. They really can't eat that much because they have a 4-chambered stomach. So they eat to fill up one chamber, then they go lay down, chew their cud. Which if they're a bedding area, if they got the food plot and then bedding area, they would like to go back and forth 2 or 3 times during the day to eat, chew their cud, go lay down, and take their time with it.
Yep.
So that actually might not even be too bad of a spot for afternoons.
Yeah, and today we were on the ridge top taking pictures and creating some content and stuff like that, and I got a notification. I think the last picture on the ridge top was 12:55 of us. Mm-hmm. At 1:06, we had Ace, our 8-pointer, up on the north end,
just
eating the midday,
middle of the day.
How many hunters can you imagine would love to see a nice 8-pointer at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
I mean, how many guys are in the tree stands at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Though,
now I might be, but up until that, so. But he was there, and that's far enough away that we can be active.
I mean, how many yards would you say we were through the woods
from him?
Yeah.
Well, if we got 40 acre, quarter miles, 400 yards. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. We were about here, so we're talking 400. That's 800 to the north perimeter.
Okay.
So let's knock 100, 150 yards off that. So we're, what did I say, 650?
Yeah.
We're 650 as a crow flies away from him. But there's enough stuff between us, and there's enough elevation change.
He might not have been able to hear us.
Hearing, probably.
Definitely can't see us, though.
He cannot see us.
Yeah.
He was not aware that we were there. And where he was going after he ate, or where he came from, we weren't affecting him at all.
No.
And I have a very strict rule on the property. We don't go before 10. And we're not there after 2.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going in my tree stand, it's about 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
If I'm going to get out of my tree stand, it's about 10 o'clock. Let's just say.
You want to mimic the behavior you're going to be doing in hunting season.
And at 10 to 2, where is he at? Besides in the food plot, which is wild, he's in bed.
Yeah.
And I know where them spots are, and I'm not gonna go near them. So today was a special treatment because you're here.
Yeah.
And
but I still don't think we got out to the land till after 10.
No, it was 9:37. I was like, I have a rule of 10 o'clock.
Was that when we left or is that when we got there?
No, that's when we left here, 9:37.
Okay.
So we were close.
It was
enough.
close. Yeah.
But that's a rule for that. So so where he was at was good, and we didn't go up there, which I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah, that was stroke of luck. But anytime you're getting pictures of a deer during that daytime,
That's positive.
that's home turf.
Yep.
He's not going
Yes.
more than 150 yards from that food plot all day long.
They say, what was it? Takes 10 minutes to travel 100 yards. A deer does. And a normal grazing pattern, 100 yards is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if he's, within 100 yards, so at nighttime you'd really notice this. If he's coming out 10 minutes before dark, he's close. He's really close to you. If he's coming out an hour after dark, he's
walking a distance.
600 yards from you at that point. So
Yeah.
if he's up here, but also, matter of fact, we looked at the pictures when we were talking. 1 o'clock he was up here.
Yeah.
At 8 o'clock he was down here. He didn't move that whole time.
No,
So
he's just taking his time, and he might have walked 200 yards, laid down, and then he might have checked out the other food plot. But you didn't get any pictures of him on there.
No, I think he came down and came to this bedding and came over.
Okay.
And that's why he was where he was this evening.
Yeah.
The cell cameras have changed my world because it's real time. It's right there. I can look at the weather. I can go, what's it doing right now? Rain. Okay.
Yeah, we had a nice rainy day today, so they maybe were more comfortable moving.
And it was good for
day.
us, be that we were out there on a rainy day. It's helping with our scent. It's helping with our noise. The rain hitting the trees, that really changes the noise factor.
Oh,
so it was
absolutely.
We were walking through woods. You said it's so quiet here.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important to do when you're going to access your property. That you're doing it smartly. We're getting close to season, so we want to be very careful. Like I'm probably not going to go in there. After today, I have no reason to go up there until opener.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really hoping they keep their patterns up, and I might be tagged out on the opening day.
If he keeps moving the way he's moving, I mean, it was an hour before dark, hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of shooting time
I've
left.
had pictures of him at 3 o'clock walking through that ridge top. So, anyways, so we've done the 3 food plots. They're not the prettiest. They're eating them though.
Yeah.
I'm the only food for a long ways, so that's been really helpful. We've done the hinge cutting. We've done the food plots.
And you added a water source, which is huge.
We added a pond.
Tell me what you did for so on Ridgetop. You got the big box blind there. And,
the Titan. Yep.
The Titan. Yep. So that you got that stand set up, and you got it set up for bow hunting.
Yep.
But what else did you do besides the trees and the pond? You added a berm around it, or what would you call that?
Yeah, a berm's fair. When we took the trees down, it was kind of a hilltop shrubbery brush and some pines and stuff like some. I wouldn't say it's tamarack, but we took those trees down and I put them on what would be the south side of that food plot. Left a little hole.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Titan's sitting. But what that berm is right now, it's kind of tall, but over the years it's going to decay and shrink.
The trees will die.
But the goal was that's right at the crest of the hill. So no matter where that buck, let's just say there's a buck sitting there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No matter where that buck is standing in that food plot, he can't look down and see me coming. My access is totally blocked from him. And it naturally makes him not want to go south. Yeah. It's not imposing on him. It's not trapping him. He's got, out of, let's say, 40 out of 60 yards of berm, the tree stand, he's got 120 to 160 yards of I can go anywhere
he wants.
So he's not trapped.
Yeah.
But we put that berm in, it'll decay, it'll collapse a little bit and won't be as so significant as it is.
It's not so much a physical movement barrier as you're trying to create a visual barrier.
All
just
visual.
So he can't see you coming. Yep. You can sneak up, get up in your tree stand quietly enough, and if he's there, you're not going to spook him.
So I stood, before we cleared it, I stood in the woods in the very dead center. I'm like, this is it. This is the spot. And I looked down and I could see my truck, my white truck, parked can see it.
Yeah.
Woods are thick, leaves, everything. I can see my truck. That's a problem. That's
Yeah.
if that's a food plot now and I've cleared out 40 yards deep,
He's just see you coming.
he's going to see me all day.
Yeah.
So we did the berm. It's not pretty. We've added some incognito from Domain, and I've put that in front. We're going to get that 5 feet tall, so it's going to be picturesque, hopefully for a harvest photo.
Yeah.
But that'll break up that, and it'll make it feel a little bit more natural, and also block off the tree stand, the Titan blind. So I can walk from my truck, up my access, walk up my ladder, and get in my Titan blind, and he can't see me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're not trapping him. Meanwhile, we're not making him feel confined.
Yeah, they're not.
He can
come
go
in
anywhere he
feel
wants.
confined. Yeah.
You know, it does help a little bit with their access.
Yeah.
Making them come out where I want them to.
It limits you from 306. Normally with those bigger stands, what a lot of guys do, and what we've done this. We set it kind of on the edge or more towards the center of the field, depending on how far you want to be shooting, stuff like that. So you're removing your 360 viewpoint.
Yep.
Because you really only have. It's less than 180s.
Yeah.
100.
Yep.
It's between 90 and 120 degrees that you want to be
I'd
able to
say
shoot.
120. Yeah.
120.
Yeah.
So that's all you have to shoot.
Yep.
So it makes it easier for you to watch the deer, see where they're coming from. They really shouldn't be coming from behind you the way that's set up.
If they do, I can't see them, which means I won't mess with them, which means I won't try to shoot them.
No.
It's not a factor.
You got a good set of trees behind you. They're not going to skylight you through the windows,
Yeah.
which is, you and I have encountered that in the past.
Yes.
So
Yep.
you got it's really set up really well to get the deer into position for a safe and clean harvest.
Yep. And that food plot is designed specifically for that deer steps out into that food plot. He's within a shooting distance. He's in a position to have a clean harvest, a good harvest. So I'm not going to watch him 100 yards away while I'm holding my bow graze through the field. He's got to come in, and the moment I see him, if he turns broadside, I can shoot.
Yeah.
Left is 40 yards to the pond. Straight back to the trees is 30, and then if he goes out the other way, it's about 35. So once I see him, I can technically take that shot. I don't like pushing a bow shot past 45, 50.
Yeah.
I can do it on the target. I love that, but
It's all about an ethical harvest.
yep.
I mean,
quick.
that's what we want to do. And also, when you're only seeing them at that short range, and you're not watching them come in from 100 yards, it helps with the nerves with a lot of guys.
Yep.
I never
get nervous.
Sure, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, so the food plot length, the depth, where the pond is, everything has a reason. The pond's on the low end of the hill, of course,
Yeah.
to gather, but it was a natural wet spot anyways. We just created depth for volume of water. But it's also on the shady side of the food plot. So out of a day of 12 hours, let's just say, that pond is hitting direct sunlight for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because it's on the shady side.
And that'll help with evaporation. You'll keep your
Yep.
water in there longer.
Yep, and it gets green over there, so them deer like coming over and dipping their head down and getting some food, getting some water. You don't want the water out in the middle
No, you're gonna,
because they're vulnerable. They stick
Yep.
their head in water. I mean, stick your head
especially
down.
if it's a deeper pond. Now
Yep.
they go down in a hole. If the water level's low,
And it's hard to get out
they
of
can't
there.
see anything.
And their head's down in the water, and they can't see, and they're on the middle. They're vulnerable, and they're not. The big bucks won't like it. The does will do it. The yearlings, the 2-year-olds will do it. But that big mature 5-year-old won't. He won't like that.
He won't do it during daylight hours.
Yeah. Or if he's got any pressure on him.
Yeah.
He might do it in daylight, but the moment he knows something's up,
Yeah.
that all those habits, all those patterns stop.
Yeah.
So it's good. I think it's a lot of time, a lot of effort went into that spot, and every detail is full on.
I think it's well set up. I think you're going to have a lot of success there. And I mean, honestly, just looking at the deer numbers you have now versus what you had last year is significantly better. And it's apparent that the deer in your area need food. So getting them access to food as much as you can all year long is going to help with your herd health. It's going to help your bucks reach their genetic potential. It's going to help your does have potentially twins. It's going to raise your deer population.
Yep.
Just having access to good food. Because if a doe doesn't have access to good food, she's more likely to have singles. Every healthy deer
Fawns.
should have
Yep.
twins. She should always have twin fawns. But if a doe is lacking nutrition while she's carrying her fawns, it's not uncommon for them to absorb the second fawn.
Okay.
Normally, when they conceive, it's 2. Almost always 2.
So a single fawn has a tendency to show you that some things are lacking in the environment. Yeah, I have no food. There's miles before.
And there's not even oak trees out there. I mean, we
There's
walked
no
around.
oak trees.
The only thing I saw that was a natural forage the 2 times I've been out there was the hazelnut brush, and that's only on the south end.
And it's where I'm active.
Yeah.
That's where the truck's parked and the trailer is and the tree stands are staged. And so it's not where I want the deer to be sitting. Like to transplant it. But
that's something we got to research.
Food is a priority in this, but also, to another note with the other 2 food plots, I didn't put water at them.
No.
The reason is too many options. You see a lot of these habitat managers. I'm going to give you 6 tree stands. We're going to put 6 food plots in. We're going to put 6 watering holes in. Them deer have choices. How are you going to nail down where he's going to be? Now, I have 3 food plots.
Yeah.
But the 3 offer 3 different things at that point.
And the biggest one's going to offer not just the plot itself, but the water and the trees, the fruit trees.
Yep.
And
when those
deer
drop,
like sweets.
When those drop, we're going to have a fun time up there. But they have to go there if they want that.
Yeah.
The whole point of the smaller one off the side there, that's for staging. The does are going to come out to the big one. The yearlings are going to come out to the big one. But that mature buck's going to wait.
He might hang back.
He's going to hang back, and he's going to be in that micro plot, and that's where we have a hang on. We have a trophy hang on stand there, from Trophy Tree Stands, and we're gonna. The goal is for that food plot is to pick off that mature buck 35 minutes before he'd be out on the big one.
Yeah.
There'll be times for that because we're not in a blind. We're in the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Wind's an issue. Scent's an issue.
Yep.
But if he's coming at 5 after dark or 5 after shooting hours,
you got to catch him on the way there.
We're gonna move back deeper and catch him off. But we've stacked it. We've stacked a bedding, food plot, micro food plot, bedding.
Yeah.
Basically, left to right, right to left, they travel. If they meander their whole way down to the micro food plot, they're gonna go to the closest bedding when they want to bed. That's right there.
Yeah.
They meander their way up to the ridgetop. They're going to go to the closest bedding. That's right over here. And the cell cameras are telling us that.
Yeah.
In the morning, they go left to right, in essence. That afternoon, they go right to left.
Yep.
I can tell you what bedding they're in.
Yeah.
Because of the cell cameras and because of how things are laid out, I can almost tell you. Now, he was up at the north end today. How he got up there, I assume by walking. But
I don't imagine he flew.
Right.
I think maybe your deer different in Wisconsin, but
not that different. But the pattern is there, and I'll be able to know. And if I know that night before that he's over by the micro food plot, I'm going to sit in that trophy tree stand.
Yeah.
If he's on the other end, I'm going to sit in the Titan, 100% up on the ridgetop. Now I'm going to catch them first.
Yeah.
But between those 2 spots, those 2 bedding and those 2 food plots, he's got no need to go anywhere else.
No, and honestly, you probably got him there potentially in the rut or before, at least up until the rut.
Yes.
But if he's the dominant buck, you got him all the way through the rut because he is going to work the does that you have there.
And we can agree. We've disagreed up until this point, but mutual understanding that Ace is the save pointer. He's a 2-year-old.
I think so.
So we talk a lot about goals.
Yeah.
My goals, if we can for a second, my goals for this property is this. I want to shoot 5-year-old mature bucks.
And that's tough to do.
I don't think these are 5.
No, I would say these are 3 and 4-year-olds.
Sure.
Probably 2. Not, maybe not 4. Yeah, definitely a 2-year-old up there.
So my goal is to shoot a 5-year-old mature buck. Score is irrelevant to me. The older they get, they tend to get better score, but if he's 150, fine. If he's 170, even better.
It's going to depend on his genetics. Once you provide the food and you provide a place for him to stay that's safe from predators, from other hunters, where he can be king of his world. Now you're giving him the opportunity to reach that 4 or 5-year-old range.
If you don't mind, we talked about it today. That buck, this buck that comes up, when provided enough food, provided enough safety and health, that doesn't make him a bigger buck.
No.
But it makes...
It allows him to reach his genetic potential.
Sure.
So you can have the best genetics in the world, and if the buck's not getting enough food, he's not going to hit those genetics.
If he's stressed out to the max,
he's not gonna hit his genetic potential. An easy way to put this is, I'm 5'8". If I had been fed better as a child, if I got more meat and potatoes, all the nutrients, protein powders, would I be 6'7"? Probably not.
Your genetic makeup isn't going to make you a 6'7".
No, but now if I had been given a lack of food, no nutrition. I mean, if all I was fed was gummy bears, would I be 5'8"?
Probably 5'2".
Yeah. Or I'd be smaller, stunted, skinnier, not in good health. So if you can look at your wild deer herd and see all summer your bucks and your does should be a little bit skinnier because they're nursing fawns. Sure. But if your bucks and your does are skinny in the summer, they're not getting enough food to... You got more pictures.
Sorry, my phone's just going like 15 notifications in the last hour. So.
If you don't have enough food and your deer are skinny, adding feed to the mix isn't going to make your bucks bigger. But it's going to allow him to reach how big he should be.
Sure.
So there's no magic. If there was magic food in a bottle that we could sell people, we'd make $1 million.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist.
Right. And what happens with that, so northern Wisconsin, that's where we're at. The age is a huge problem.
Yeah.
But also, especially by where this chunk is, the nutrition is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
I can get a 5-year-old, but if he's not eating, he's going to be a substandard buck.
Yep.
So... My goal is to get a 5-year-old buck, but it's also to provide him 5 years of healthy living, healthy nutrition and food, less stress, to get him to his potential. I don't know if I'll ever be able to control the genetic makeup of the deer herd in mine.
It's really tough to do that.
I can't imagine it's possible unless you eliminate... I don't know. You'd have to eliminate every deer.
It's tough because you can't look at a buck and say, a wild deer. Mm-hmm. Now, on the farm we can do this, but... For wild deer, you can't look at a buck and say, well, I know who his dad is, and right. I know who his mom is, and I know who his mom's parents are, and I know his genetic makeup. You can say, well, this land produces 150-inch deer, and every one of the bucks on this property it's missing his left brow tine.
Yep.
That's a genetic marker. Now you can say, well, missing left brow tine, yep. Same genetic family. Yep. But suddenly you'll have that piece of property where every buck's always missing the left brow tine. And then you'll have a buck come in, and he might be the loser of a fight from another piece of property 3 miles away, 4 miles away. Deer travel.
Sure.
And then he'll come in, he might be able to beat the buck on your land and breed all the does. And now suddenly you got bucks cropping up with both brow tines. Because the genetics are able to freely move about in the wild without any interference, is maybe the right word.
Right. But controlling that as a hunter is a steep.
It's next to impossible.
So all I can do, like I said, goals are 5-year-old mature bucks. What they score is what they score, but 5 years old, and it would be nice to have some track record of what they've become. Because, like you said, if a 2-year-old comes in, he's a nice 10, give him a chance.
Yeah.
See what his potential makeup might be. But right now, as of last year, the deer in my area were starving. Yeah, struggling, just to say the least. So the goal, first step was food.
Yeah.
Actually, technically, first step was bedding. Second step was food. We've gotten that. Last year, before I purchased the property, there was 1 deer. By the rut, there was 6 deer. Does, fawns, and bucks included. But nothing was bigger than that 8-pointer.
Yeah.
I got a nice bachelor group that's like 6. Now, none of them are over 2.
Yeah, a lot of yearlings in that group. But a couple of these yearlings look excellent.
Nice. And next year, they're going to be 2-year-olds that are nice.
Yeah.
Those 2-year-olds will be nicer than Ace. And if Ace makes it to 3, great. Mm-hmm. If he's harvested this year, well, to get a 5-year-old, what does it take? 5 years.
Yep.
And 5 years of healthy nutrition, healthy food.
Low pressure.
Bedding, and then make them love your land.
Yeah.
So they stay there so you can watch them grow. And a little less itchy of a trigger finger. You gotta...
That's the tough one to control.
You got 5 bucks, 5 yearlings.
Yep.
You can't shoot 5 bucks at you. You can't let your buddies out there. You can't let anybody hunt and shoot and go happy. Because
you can let people out there, but you have to have rules in place.
Yep.
Everybody has to follow those rules.
Yep.
Just because you bought a license doesn't mean you have to fill it.
Right.
Tag soup is okay if it's for the betterment of your herd.
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about We set up a tree stand on another chunk of land I have. If I can harvest from there the same quality of a deer from that spot, rather than taking them off this land and give Ace to a 3-year-old. Man, imagine when he's going to be a 3-year-old at 3. And now all of these yearlings are now 2. Imagine what they're going to be at 2.
Yeah.
So if I can still fill my tag, which my goals are a 5-year-old buck every year.
Yeah.
I want to shoot the biggest buck on my property every year, and I hope that biggest buck is a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But I want to harvest every year.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat tag soup.
Yeah.
It's okay to, but I don't want to. And if there's a 5-year-old buck there and I can't track him down, and I can't harvest him, I'll sadly eat tag soup that year. But because I can't harvest that 5-year-old, I'm not going to go take a 2-year-old. That's easy. You're hurting yourself at that point.
You're defeating everything you've already done.
Yeah. So the trick is, hopefully there's a decent buck at the property, this other chunk of property that we got permission to hunt on, and shoot the same quality animal. I still fill my tag. I'm still happy with that. And that bumps the age groups up 1 whole year next year.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting. Then we got yearlings coming in.
Yeah.
And we're stacking the deck for that 5-year-old. But like I jokingly said, what does it take to get a 5-year-old? It takes 5 years.
At least.
Now
and
there's
that's 5 years of one buck living for 5 years.
Yeah. And now there's hypotheticals. The rut comes. That loser buck comes in, gets his butt whooped by Big Hoss down the road.
Yeah.
He comes walking in, sees our bedding, sees our food, sees that there's only a 2-year-old here and he's 4.
Yeah.
Now we can get a 5-year-old next year without having to wait 5 years.
Or even if he doesn't stick around, now you can let your bucks grow and you can harvest this other buck you've never seen before.
Yep.
And he might be bigger. He might be way bigger than anything you have on there because deer travel.
Yep.
One of the nicer bucks that I've shot, we never saw him on trail camera before. Had no idea he existed, but rifle season in Minnesota is during the rut. And it was last day of season. I'm sitting with a friend of mine. I might have told you the story earlier today. And buck comes in right at dark. I knew it was a buck. And I was kind of hunting a travel channel where a lot of deer move through. I'm like, it's a buck. He's walking. He's grunting. He's big. My friend wasn't able to find the buck in her scope. So I harvest the buck. And it was 136 inches. And he had 2 kickers off each G2. Never seen that before.
Yeah.
13 points.
Yep.
And we go check the trail cameras. He showed up on that property at 2 o'clock that morning.
Yeah.
He's never seen him before. No idea where he came from.
Yep.
How many miles did he travel?
Gypsy.
He got his butt kicked by somebody and said, I got to go where I'm the king.
And that's great to do that because all of your resident bucks made it.
They survived.
Yep. And you'd have to reconvince that other buck to stay.
Yeah.
But all your resident bucks are there. They're staying there.
They know the does. They know the area.
Yep.
They know where his food is.
Yeah.
They like it.
Yes. So it's very interesting to think of those hypotheticals. But having a set of goals for the land, which I do, harvest every year, harvest the biggest buck on the property with no exceptions.
Yeah.
And then every year, hopefully shoot a buck bigger than last year.
Yeah.
That someday, let's say there's a fluke, I shoot a 190-inch deer out there.
Yeah, now you're just going to sit for a little while,
well,
it'd be great if I could hunt this year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. I don't think that's going to happen quite like that. But you got to have a goal set. We've so far since February till now, it's been a lot of work, but we've come so far in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, and it's the results are there. We got a bachelor group of 6.
I'm incredibly impressed by seeing that those bucks are not only that there's 6 of them, but they're there every day.
Yep.
Without
daylight, no worries, almost by the clock. And I know that's going to change once they hard horn.
They're going to break up. You might have two.
I figure 3 will leave.
Maybe not leave, but you're going to end up with those bachelor groups that are just yearlings.
Yep.
Because yearlings, they know they're not that tough. If Ace is willing to kick their butts,
yep,
they're going to be like, well, you got your ass kicked, I got my butt kicked. Sorry. We all got our butts kicked. Yep. Okay, well, we can hang out with each other because we just don't like him.
You know, and say this. There's a number 1 buck. But is there a number 2 buck?
Nope.
It's 1 and then the rest.
1 and everybody else.
Kind of like how I like to run a company. It's me and then it's just everybody else. No, but seriously, there's a dominant buck.
He's the king of the world.
But there is no number 2 in pecking order. If that dominant buck's gone, all those guys got to hash it out.
Shakes it up.
Yeah.
We've had situations in my dad's hunting preserve where we'll have a beautiful deer, often 230, 240, 250 inches, big 3-year-old deer disappear. We have trail cameras set on every feeder. on every food plot all summer long. Don't see him. Once we pull the feeders out of there, now we got just the food plots for the fall hunting. Don't see him. There's nowhere else for him to eat. Yep. We got it. Cameras on both ponds. There's nowhere for him to drink. Never see him. And is he dead? We have no idea. Then we start harvesting bucks, and we'll pull the dominant buck out of there. 2 weeks later, we see that buck all over the place. What was he doing? It's 160 acres, and it's fenced, 8-foot tall fence.
Yep.
So he didn't leave.
Right.
He's
Controlled
there.
environment.
Controlled environment. He was pouting. He's like, I got my butt beat. That guy's mean. Everybody picks on me.
Yep.
I'm going to go hide until I can be boss. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Now, in a wild scenario, your buck's not going to go pout and stay in the area. He's going to go somewhere where he can be king.
Yep. He's going to keep going until he finds that spot.
Yeah. And that spot might be a rock pile in the middle of a field in northwest Minnesota.
Yep.
But if he can be the king there, he's happy.
Yep. And it might be of one more deer. It might be one doe that he's the king of, but he's happy.
Yeah.
And that's... I'm fully aware that that bachelor group's going to break up, and I'm ready for it. I hope Ace stays.
I hope you can handle the emotional trauma. Just anytime a group breaks up, you know.
Yeah, that's One Direction. No.
I'm embarrassed. You know who that is.
Are you? You laugh, so you know who it is too.
Yeah.
So, that's the food plot, and that's what we've done in the last 6 to 8 months. It's been a ton of work, and we're about done.
Yeah.
So you and I spent the day there today, but we're done. Now it's gonna be hunting season. Opener, I'm gonna actually probably hunt the first opener I think I've ever hunted.
Okay.
I'm that excited about it. Feel that good about it. And I think it would be an opportunity to get Ace in this pattern.
Yeah.
Before everything goes crazy. But I'm already so you think we're done, right?
We're never done.
The list has already started today, you and me talking of what's happening next year.
Yeah.
We're going to get through hunting season. We're going to get through winter because you don't want to stress those deer out any more than you want to. But now we're already making that list for next year. Things we've already done.
Getting your pond bigger.
Yeah, so the pond's in, but I already look at it and go, oh, it's not right.
No.
I don't like it. We're going to tweak it.
Yep.
It's there. The fundamental pond is there.
Yeah.
We're going to make it better. More trees. I got more trees coming this week, so I'm going to have to plant them. So we're already making that list for next year, and I'm sure it'll be a summer's worth of work also.
Of course.
But that's every year.
Yeah.
And everything is meant to make this better.
And you can't do it all overnight. I mean, you got to, you started the pond, but then you ran into too much water. So now it was too wet to finish the pond. So you have to work within weather patterns, time constraints, when you can access the property.
Yep.
There's certain pieces of my dad's land, we couldn't put a tree stand up until August.
Wet?
It's just too wet.
Yeah, sure.
Or on a given year, there's 1.5 feet of water all year.
Yep.
And it's just, you just can't access it. You can't do anything to it. But the next year might be bone dry.
Sure. And that's something we talk about with the clients that we talked about doing habitat setups is we're going to give it to you. We're going to give you the list of things. But year one is this stuff. And this is the fundamental important stuff that you need to do. They're usually the hardest ones.
Yeah.
Food plots, ponds.
Yeah.
Planting hinge cuts. The biggest substantial changes. But year two, fine tune.
Yeah.
Year three, fine tune. Year four, tweak the things that were done in year 1 and 2 and improve them because you've seen deer operate there and I don't like that. I don't like that access. Hey, that deer got behind me and winded me.
And it can be as simple as that, or you've made these changes. How did the deer adapt to that? What did their travel patterns do?
Yep.
Did it work exactly the way you wanted, or did it work a way that you didn't foresee where maybe it's a little bit better than you had planned? Now, how do you set up to hunt the new travel pattern? How do you set up to figure out where the deer are going?
As far as ridgetop goes, or the whole property in general, it's triple what I expected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressed me how well it worked. So just the fine tuning and tweaking is going to make it even better. But we're starting a list for next year already. Mm-hmm. We still want to enjoy the hunting, but the fruits of the labor start in a month, right? The fruits of the labor start in a month. Once we get to sit in that tree stand, the work's done, bow, gun, whatever we're using.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy it. And maybe sit in the tree stand, you're like, I don't like where that tree's at. I don't like that my stand's here. Yeah. Now, the Titan is pretty committed to where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And so is a TR Outdoors blind. But the reason I picked hang-on stands for specific spots, because if they walk in and they don't ever give me a broadside quartering shot, I might move that tree stand.
Yeah.
Well, a hang-on or a ladder stand is a lot quicker than a Titan blind,
Yeah.
to say the least. So that's everything's going to be adjustment. And like you said about the deer farm, if you sit from end of August to the end of October, every day, you're going to learn a lot from those deer, their movements, their habits, their patterns, way faster than I am sitting Friday night, Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that's what's great about your expertise with these deer is you've seen or used to race stock cars. Mm-hmm. Side note, I used to race stock cars, and the biggest thing was just get out there and you just need seat time. You gotta be in the seat. You gotta be in there. You just gotta have seat time.
Yeah.
You got a lot more seat time in a tree stand with a deer in front of you, let alone the size of the deer you had to watch.
Yeah.
But they're still 2-year-olds. They're still 3-4
yearlings,
year-olds.
still 2-year-olds, still does that love to ruin every hunt ever.
Yep. Your seat time.
Yep.
Your hours data is way bigger than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Myself, and I've sat a lot of tree stand, a lot of sits I've used, but your seat time is way higher than that.
Yeah.
So that's a perspective.
It's experience. It's practice makes perfect, and I'm still learning stuff all the time.
Well,
so it's there's so much to learn about whitetail deer, and we're going to cover a lot of stuff moving forward.
Yep.
I think we covered a lot of ground tonight. Literally ground.
94 acres,
yep.
Exactly.
But we're actually running on almost to an hour.
I hope people are still listening.
Yeah.
So it's good. Once you got on an exciting topic like this, especially this has been 8-9 months.
It's been a passion project for you for almost since you bought it.
Since I bought it, but I fantasized about. I went to multiple hunting classes and habitat classes with no land in mind.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the 10 acres, another podcast on what I did on 10 acres.
Yeah.
This is substantially more. But the same principles are there on that 10 acres. So it's been a passion for 5-6 years. I'm like, I'm sick of public. I want private. I want this control. And we're here. And we're doing it. We're doing it all fast. And it's only going to get better, I think, at this point. So
I can't imagine it's going to get worse. I mean, the improvements you've made, like we've said, the proof's in the pudding right where you're at right now.
Yep. You
got multiple deer on your property all summer long. They're eating every day. That's improvement.
Patterned.
Yeah.
If there was deer season today,
You'd have Ace on the ground one night.
Yep.
Easy to do. The way he's at right now.
Yep.
So, but I think that's where we're going to cut it. Anything else you want to say real quick?
No, just this is episode 2.
Episode 2.
Of X.
We'll see where we end up. One thing I did forget to mention at the front, though, we are sponsored by Wallhanger Taxidermy of Cable, Wisconsin.
Sure.
So he was very generous in coming on board and sponsoring us the first couple podcast episodes here, and we hope he continues to deal with us moving forward.
Yeah, he's done a lot of deer for me. A lot of the heads behind us, and
excellent work.
Around my house, he loves doing them. So I appreciate that, and moving the next few episodes, we're gonna talk about the 10 points. I think we're gonna start focusing on 10 points.
I think so.
And the 10 acres and special guests and everything else it's all happening really fast, and it's really fun. So by the time people see this, it'll be a couple weeks. But
I'll hopefully get the first one up, ideally next week, and then we can get a couple more recorded. But unfortunately, we're too busy of people to record every week. So if you notice that we're wearing the same clothing ever, we're gonna try to record 2 or 3 at a time, and then post them weekly.
And we're gonna try to do them weekly.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a little bit more informative than some others. So
we're not always going to be in person with each other, unfortunately. 7 hours is not the world's easiest drive. But
when we are together,
of the internet, we can do a lot.
And when we are together, we're going to cover a lot of ground. So
if you made it this far, thanks for watching. You're a true trooper here. We're going to sign off so that subscribe to YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Neither of us are people on Twitter. We do have an Instagram.
Perfect.
We do have an Instagram, TikTok, and it's 10 Point Whitetails. So check us out, like, share, subscribe, let other people know. So, thank you much.